What's up, guys? It's your boy, Barça Boy 103. Today we're going to be reacting to the Barcelona news over the past 24 hours. We do have a lot of topics to discuss. Firstly, following Real Madrid announcing Kylian Mbappe as a new Real Madrid player, Barcelona all of a sudden have pulled their head out of their arse and making some moves in the market. They have apparently identified Nico Williams and Joshua Kimmich as their two main targets and have informed both players' camps they will do everything necessary to sign them this summer, and movements are being made. We have updates on those situations. Also on the situation of Guido Rodriguez, that will have a lot of clarity in the next few days as Barcelona will meet with his entourage to decide whether or not to sign him on a free transfer or not this summer. Also some updates around Luiz, Diaz, Amadou, Onana, Bruno Guimaraes, and Bruno Fernandes as well. Have some sale updates in regards to Abde Ezzalzouli, Pablo Torre, Garcia, and also a surprising run around Mikayil Faye, who according to reports wants to leave Barcelona right now. He's very unhappy about not being played any first team minutes last season, but Barcelona trusts him a lot and they want him to at least do preseason before making a decision. Ansu Fati spoken to the media saying that he wants to stay and succeed at Barcelona and is hoping to do preseason with the first team, but Sevilla and García Pimienta have knocked on his door and are asking for a loan, but the loan offer they've made isn't that great. We'll talk about that. Also some big renewal updates on Sergio Roberto and big injury updates as well on Alejandro Balde, and a big one around Frankie de Jong. Before we get into it, make sure you guys smash that like button down below. Let's try to get to 200 likes this video. Be very much appreciated. And also, if you're new, make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Let's start off with the transfer news over the past 24 hours. First, we're going to be discussing some news in regards to Barcelona's left wing pursuit this summer, and things are intensifying just a little bit. Now, firstly, Candacer came out saying that Barcelona's plan has not changed despite Xavi's departure. The club wants to sign a winger and, of course, a pivot. Now, we'll talk about the pivot options later on. They mention, of course, Onana and Bruno Guimaraes, but they also mentioned that Nico Williams and Luiz Diaz are among the options in the attack. Again, it's quite clear that Nico Williams is more so a club bet, so everyone involved, your Boyan, Massive, Echeverri, Laporta, Deco, but on the side, Deco himself, really a big fan of Luiz Diaz, alongside Joan Laporta as well. We obviously tried to make a move for him back when he was at Porto, before he made that January move to Liverpool. We didn't make an offer for him, even though the offer was not the greatest. It was still an offer nonetheless. But again, the pursuit for Nico Williams, ladies and gentlemen, is intensifying heavily. David Bernabeu and also Ivan San Antonio of Sport have come out saying that Nico Williams is Barcelona's priority for the left wing position. His camp has already been informed by this by the club, who want to make this signing possible through several installments. Apparently, what Barcelona want to do is offer Athletic Club a bit more than his release clause. Again, his release clause is between 50 to 60 million. No one knows the exact number. Let's say hypothetically it's 55 million. What the club want to do is offer a bit higher than that, so offer an extra 5 million euros over the release clause. But in order to do so, that way we can pay in installments. And also they say that if Athletic Club say no to paying in installments, even if we offer more than the release clause, Barcelona is ready to pay the full release clause immediately in cash. Bloody hell. So we go from being broke to not even being in the 1-1 rule, for all of a sudden being able to drop 60 million immediately on Nico Williams. Look, couple things here. One, I think this report is very reactionary from the Kylian Mbappe announcement yesterday. I think the club want to get some positive news out there to instill some belief in the culés. I think the interest is true. I think everything else after it is a bit hit and miss. We'll wait and see for further confirmation. But these are two top journalists, top sources in Barcelona saying this. This is not, some random nobody from Sport or some from Motivo. This is Ivan San Antonio and David Bernabeu, two highly regarded players. Of course, David Bernabeu is the reason why Xavi got sacked, because he asked him that bloody question in the pre-match for Almeria. But again, he is the ideal scenario. You compare Nico Williams to Luiz Diaz, you compare him to Dani Olmo, you compare him to Kingsley Coman, all these players that we have been linked with, he's head and shoulders better than every single one of them. I'm thinking you sign Nico, you bid Ferran, you keep Ansu, and there is your left wing sorted. That for me is the ideal scenario. Ansu, Nico Williams, at the left wing. That's coverage and competition. Two good players that can battle it out. Ansu will understand that he has to earn his spot. I think he's going to be on less wages than Ferran Torres. Of course, it's going to be easier to sell Ansu Fati because we got him for free from the academy, where Ferran Torres, there needs to be amortization, but there is more interest for Ferran Torres. Anyways, talk about sales here. We got to talk about Nico Williams. So again, the club ready to pay over his release clause in order to pay in installments, which again is better for Barcelona. So let's say 55 million euros is release clause. We offer 60, but we'll pay that over 3 installments. Again, apparently according to this report as well, Nico Williams happy and ready to join Barcelona. Again, it comes down to Barcelona negotiating with Athletic Club in regards to that release clause. So we'll wait and see how things turn out. But again, it's becoming more and more clear that Nico Williams is the top priority. If we're a smart club, if we're a logical club, we need to get this done before the Euros. Because for a fact, Nico Williams is going to start for Spain in the Euros. And if he has a great tournament, his stock is going to rise. And then you have those Premier League clubs who can pay the 60 million release clause immediately tomorrow, ready at the front door of Athletic Club. But of course, I'll tell you guys this right now for free. Barcelona, if it's not a free transfer, we're not making any signings until July the 1st. Because we will not be in FFP 1 rule until the end of the month. Because we are just slow as hell and do everything last second. So we'll wait and see how things turn out in that regard. We've also been linked with another left winger. I dared to mention his name, but you know what? I'm just going to mention it for clickbait, just so I can throw in his tags and stuff like that. It is Neymar. Marcelo Bielsa, who of course is probably the #1 source in regards to Neymar. He broke every single news in regards to Neymar around Barcelona since 2017 until, of course, last summer in 2023. He's always been first. He's always been right. He basically came out saying that with Xavi now being gone, Neymar returning to Barcelona, is way more possible than it already was. I mean, thanks, Einstein. You think Barcelona going to go out there and sign Neymar at 33 with, double torn ACL over the past 8 months? It's not realistic, whatsoever. And again, Al Hilal spent 90 million on him last summer. They're going to let him go for less. I doubt Barcelona want to pay any transfer fee for him, so this is out of the question. I'm just including it in here for the algorithm and for the lows as well. I almost put him on the thumbnail. Imagine if I put him on the thumbnail. You all would have slated me in the comments. But wait and see what happens with Nico Williams. But it is quite clear that Barcelona will go all in for the Spanish left winger this summer. Now, along with the left winger, of course, the other priority for Barcelona in this summer transfer window is the reinforcement of the pivot position. And following from that same initial report, Candecer have come out saying that Deco really likes Amadou, Onana, and Bruno Guimaraes, but at the moment, the club cannot afford and register either of them. Both these two players are going to cost you in excess of 70 million euros. Everton wants 70 million for Onana. I believe Newcastle have a release clause in Bruno's contract of 100 million euros and will not ask for anything less than that. Bruno in a double pivot, wouldn't mind him. Like I've always mentioned on the channel over the past few months, he is not a single pivot, but if Hansi Flick wants to play a double pivot, I think Bruno wouldn't be a bad player. Same with Onana as well, but again, they're just way overpriced. For me, to be honest, I think they're double if not triple their market value. I would go Onana around 40, 50 million at the absolute most. Guimaraes maybe 50, 60 million at the absolute most, and they're both almost double that when you include variables and agent fees and all this mumbo jumbo. So for me, the two operations we're just being priced out at this point. Of course, if the price is reduced or cheapened by any means, then of course it can make a massive difference. But in terms of player profiles, I don't mind it. But again, these are the two players that apparently Deco is very keen on. But yet again, Ivan San Antonio, David Bernabeu, Sport have come out saying that Hansi Flick has informed the club he'll try everything it takes to convince Joshua Kimmich to join Barcelona this summer. He wants to be directly involved in getting this target. Does Hansi Flick have the Xavi juice? Of course, Xavi in his first summer called Lewandowski, called Koundé, called Rafinha, called Kessié, called Christensen, called Alonso, called Bellerin, convinced them all to join. Does Hansi Flick have the sauce? Especially with a player that he actually coached in two different, teams, a player that he, led to a sextuple. If you can't convince Joshua Kimmich, if we sign him or not, that's a different question. But if you cannot convince him, then bloody hell, we might be screwed. But look, apparently they also go on to say that Barcelona already offered him a contract, but he rejected it because he wants to have 19 million euro salary. Fuck off. 19 million per year salary. You're having a laugh. What is that per week? Because I tell you, I don't know if it's gross or net, but it's 19 million. I tell you what, man, what is this? 350k a week. You're having a laugh, Joshua. You're having a laugh. you're getting paid as equal, maybe a bit more than what Gundogan's earning. I think Gundogan's earning around 180,000 a week. You're getting in that range. Bloody hell, man wants more than 400,000 a week. Waffle. And then he wants to pay a transfer fee on top of that. Piss right off. We'll wait and see. Again, that's early negotiation, early reports. I really don't even think Barcelona have offered anything to Kimmich, but this is what, again, these two reliable journalists from Sport are mentioning. We'll wait and see. Again, if Hansi Flick wants Kimmich, he has some plan to play him and Gundogan or him and De Jong as a double pivot, whatever. You got to back it at that point, because if you don't bring him in, then he'll be like, oh, look, if you gave me my targets, things would have been different, yada, yada, yada. All I ask for is that we get him for a reasonable price. He has 1 year left on his deal. If we're paying any more than 40 million euros, Bayern Munich are absolutely destroying us. Just like they did with Robert Lewandowski. In the end, of course, Lewandowski was worth it. We paid, I think, 50 million in total, 45 plus 5. He's gotten, 20 plus goals in both seasons. Been, pretty good, I would say, over his tenure at Barcelona. Of course, had some bad patches, had some great patches. But we overall got him, especially from marketing and advertisement, stuff like that. He was overall, in the end, worth it. With Kimmich, it's different. He's not as big of a player as Lewandowski, especially not in a star position like the striker position as well. He won't go out there and sell shirts. But I have to remind you guys about what Deco's report was a few days ago. That, Kimmich is a very controversial player in the dressing room. We've seen it, of course, in the Bayern Munich All or Nothing documentary and the Germany All or Nothing documentary on Amazon, how he's very vocal. He speaks with his mind. He'll get into fights with his team. And of course, it's all about winning. He's not getting into fights just to cause problems. Like, that's kind of his mentality. And at Barcelona, in a happy environment, all this, crap might not go too well there. So keep your eyes on that, and we'll wait and see what happens with Joshua Kimmich. But again, Barcelona already signed a pivot a few weeks ago, but now they have to kind of renegotiate the deal for him. And as for Guido Rodriguez, we do have an update. Edul Gaston has come out saying that Guido Rodriguez to Barcelona is still yet to be finalized due to fair play and contractual reasons. A deal isn't off the table right now, but they're waiting to have a conversation in the coming days to make a decision. So again, it looks like Barcelona are still keen on Guido Rodriguez, but just now waiting for financial fair play and FFP and all that crap. You know what, we're hearing the same thing again with Sergio Roberto, a little bit of an insight we're going to talk about later on. I don't really know what the club's plan is right now. Again, with Oya Romeo leaving this summer, most likely probably leaving, we have no pivot in the squad whatsoever, and you need at least two. So if you bring in Guido, you have, of course, Casado, who's about to renew his contract as well. Marc Bernal, he's playing as an interior now. He's playing as an 8, so whether you count him as a pivot or not, it's a different scenario. Look, with Guido Rodriguez and Roberto on the same page. If we sign them, cool. If we don't, cool. I don't mind to have the experience in the squad. I think it's also important because I don't want to rely on Casado too much, although I do want to see him as part of the first team next season. I do want to see him get some minutes. I want to see him shine in preseason, but you want to have some sort of experience to lie back on, to rely upon as well. He'll come in, he'll have that experience. He's still at a fairly good age as well. He's not coming in, on his retirement bet. He's still got, I think, 1 or 2 years left at a decent level, especially as a squad player. There won't be too much pressure on him, and hopefully, since he has a better mentality than Oya Romeo. But again, we get him, cool. If not, whatever. I'm not really too fussed about it, so I'll wait and see how things turn out. Now, finally, very quickly, in this midfield position, we talked about this in yesterday's video about reports about Bruno Fernandes. Mateo Merito came out saying that Barcelona are currently not looking for a player of Bruno Fernandes' profile. They have other priorities, of course, being the pivot. So Bruno Fernandes in the mud. Again, United would probably want around 80 million or even touching 100 for him. We have Fermin Lopez, you have Pedri, you have Gavi who can play there, maybe even Xavi Simons if he comes on loan. Again, that's gone a bit quiet as of late. I would still really push for Xavi Simons on loan if he is, of course, available on loan. So wait and see what happens in the pivot position. Again, Hansi Flick has made it very clear that he wants to go and try to sign Joshua Kimmich, while Deco really likes of Amadou, Onana, and Bruno Guimaraes. Let's now discuss the players that have been rumored to leave Barcelona over the past 24 hours. First up, a player who's already left Barcelona, but again, we're being linked with his future, and that is Abde Ezzalzouli. Imagine if he stayed, his situation could have been different, but this is what happens when you jump ship so early. Mundo Deportivo are reporting that Aristete, who of course is the former Osasuna manager, but now the manager of Real Mallorca. Very interesting manager situation in La Liga, a little bit of a shake-up there. He's apparently would like to sign Abde for Mallorca, and it should be remembered, of course, that Barcelona will get 50% of any future sale for the Moroccan international. So we'll wait and see if Betis do end up selling Abde, again, kind of doing the work for us. First, we tried Riyadh, then Abde. Again, we do have a buyback option from Betis for Abde, I think valid next summer for 20 million, and then in the summer 2026 for 25 million. So we'll wait and see. Again, I think Abde is still a top talent. I think he's still a good player. Did not play whatsoever for Betis, and when he did play, he was kind of poor the past season. Again, when he decided to jump ship from Barcelona, this is what happens to you, and I always highlight this for any player whatsoever. If you're not patient with your opportunity and you don't, stay and wait for your chance, this is what happens to you. Of course, if you're Andre Gomes or, your other players who come in, have their chance and are shite, then you move on. But when you're like Abde, Ansu Fati, even Neymar to an extent, Griezmann a little bit, but I think the club are just so broke. Memphis Depay is a good example as well. These players who are good and talented that the club do trust and just weren't patient enough to wait for their opportunity, and then they jump ship and then they end up doing poorly. So wait and see what happens with Abde's future, but keep in mind and keep your eyes out for it, as Barcelona are in fact linked with it. Now, another player that is also being linked away from Barcelona is Pablo Torre, with Gabriel Sanz and Mundo Deportivo reporting that Pablo Torre only considers two options this summer: to stay at Barcelona or to continue at Girona. Hansi Flick and the sports management will have to evaluate his continuity. Look, you have Gavi, you have Pedri, you have Gundo, you have Frankie, you have Fermin Lopez that can all play in the position of Pablo Torre. On top of that, you might have Xavi Simons coming in, you have Casado, you have Marc Bernal, you have Gilly Fernandez. We're way overstocked to, give any trust or any continuity to Pablo Torre. The best thing to do is to sell him. I would try and sell him for at least half of what we paid. I think we paid around 20, so maybe sell him for 10, have a buyback option, percent of future sale, try and get that linked with Girona. They got now Champions League football, so hopefully they have some money to, invest in their squad. I think Pablo Torre would be a great signing for Girona as well. I still rate him. I think he's a good player. He just needs some nourishment, needs some time, and needs some patience, which unfortunately Barcelona at this time cannot do. This is the life of Barcelona when, last season was kind of his moment, but Xavi never trusted him. It's very much a similar storyline to Ricky Puig, where it's the talented player just never get the opportunity. We talk about players waiting for their opportunity. Torre and Ricky Puig are example of players who wait for their opportunity, but just don't get it, and then maybe go elsewhere and either shine or flop. So with Pablo Torre, I just don't think it worked out overall, especially with the rise of Fermin Lopez last season. So I think the best thing is an exit this summer. Hope we can try and get some cash for him. Again, I would look to sell. I would not look to loan him again. I think he has a contract until 2027, 2028 with Barcelona, something like that. So you have, some ways to, maneuver maybe a loan if, Girona will not budge whatsoever. But we'll wait and see how things do turn out. But I think Pablo Torre's future at Barcelona is far away from the Camp Nou this summer. Now, speaking of Spanish players that were at Girona on loan last season from one to another, we have an update on Eric Garcia, with Candaceta reporting that Eric Garcia himself still doesn't know what Barcelona wants to do with him this summer. Look, if Xavi's staying, I would bet my entire mortgage that he would be in the first team, but with no Xavi now, and again, with this overbooking that we do have in the center back position, Eric Garcia is the weakest, and if he's the weakest, your best thing to do is to sell him. He had a good season at Girona. He was actually the top scorer in regards to defenders in La Liga last season, if I'm not mistaken. I believe I saw a stat that said he had 5 goals, the most of any defenders in the league. I don't know if it's center back or defenders, but anyways, 15-20 million for him. It's a bargain for Girona. Again, they get to improve their squad. He was a starting player for them all throughout this season, pushing for European positions as well. It's a no-brainer signing for them, especially, again, like I mentioned with Pablo Torre, the Champions League money coming in for them. They're going to get, of course, the sale of Alex Garcia to Bayern Leverkusen. They can use that money to bring in Eric Garcia. It is easy peasy, lemon squeezy. The question is, will Barcelona sell him or not? I am a bit worried that the club might say, oh, La Masia, blah, blah, blah. He had a good loan, let's keep him. Look, last season we knew the players who had good loans like Abde, and we know what, we had to keep them. In the end, we cashed out. Same thing here has to apply to Eric Garcia. He had a good loan. Can we keep him? Nope. You cash out. No if, buts, and maybes. No lingering around. Plain and simple. So again, we'll wait and see how things do turn out. But as of right now, Eric Garcia does not know what club he will play for next season as things currently stand. Now, another player's future that has all of a sudden become very much in question is the future of Mikayil Faye. We've had 2 contradictory reports coming out from 2 reliable journalists. A very interesting situation. Firstly, Roger Telero of Mundo Deportivo came out saying that Mikayil Faye is considering leaving Barcelona. He feels disappointed because he hasn't received any minutes with the first team last season. Arsenal, Manchester United, Inter Milan, and Bayern Munich are strongly interested in him. But following this report, like 20-30 minutes later, Santi Ovna of Candacer. Again, another reliable journalist came out saying that Mikayil Faye will 100% do preseason with the first team. His goal is to stay at Barcelona. The young defender does, of course, have important offers on the table for him. Again, the situation is very clear. You take him on preseason. If he does well, you can keep him, maybe maneuver a few things, get rid of Inigo, maybe be open to a sale of Koundé, Christensen, or Araujo. I don't know. I've seen, from the people that I talk to who watch Barca Athletic regularly, I'll be honest with you, I don't watch Barcelona Athletic regularly. I watch them when I'm bored. I watch them if they have a big game. That's pretty much it. The people that I've talked to who watch Barcelona Athletic regularly, and I'm talking every single game, say that Mikayil Faye is a bit of a 50-50 defender. He sometimes, has a worldly of a game. He'll score some free kicks to do well. Sometimes his passing is atrocious. He's still very young and still makes mistakes. For me, the situation is very, very clear. It's between Mikayil Faye and Inigo. I'll let that decision go to Hansi Flick. If he wants to keep Inigo over Mikayil Faye, I don't mind. If he wants to keep Mikayil Faye over Inigo, I don't mind. I think what's quite clear, the anomaly here is Eric Garcia. He should be shipped off no matter what. Again, choose between those two. You have two left foot center back options there. Choose what you want. You want the experience. You want the youngster who's has the promising talent that a lot of top clubs are interested in. But again, was a bit 50-50, maybe you could say, at Barca Athletic last season. Again, it comes all down to if he impresses and how he does in pre-season. So again, if he waits for pre-season, that's on him. If he does not want to wait, that is also on him as well. So wait and see how things turn out. But again, contradictory reports about the future of Mikayil Faye. Now, the biggest news over the past 24 hours, in my opinion, I do have stocks and favoritism in this player, is on Ansu Fati, who has done an interview with Mundo Deportivo, committing and conveying his thoughts on his future at Barcelona. I'll try and go through the majority of it. I don't want to waste too much of your time. Again, the quotes are on the screen if you want to pause and read it. But very, very interesting quotes from Ansu Fati. He first came out talking about his loan and him coming back to Barcelona and how, what he missed about Barcelona, that kind of nitty-gritty stuff. But into the details, he was asked on his dreams. And he said, the same as always. Since I arrived here when I was 10 years old, my dream is to succeed at Barcelona. These last few years have not been easy. It's been part of football. I'm only 21 years old and I have to continue growing, but I have hope of being able to return all the love I receive from the culés. Every day on the street, I meet people who encourage me and continue to love me here. This gives me motivation and drives me to continue fighting for this club and give my best. He also mentioned how he met Hansi Flick during his time at Brighton. Of course, it was already leaked and seen before Hansi Flick was even close to becoming the manager, that he went to Brighton's game and watched some of the games. Ansu Fati said, I had the opportunity of meeting him when I was in Brighton. He came one day to visit the club. I was able to meet with him, greet him, shake his hand, and wish you all the best. He comes from the best club in the world, and I'm sure he's going to do very well here. On how he can contribute to Hansi Flick's Barcelona, he said, I'm a young player. I've been at the club for many years, and for me, playing for Barcelona is my greatest dream. Every time I have the opportunity, I try to do my best. Sometimes it can turn out better or worse, but I try to fight and do my best for the team, the club, and the fans. Then talked about how he feels physically, how he has friends with Balde, Araujo, and Gavi, talks to them all the time. He also mentioned how he wants to be the first player to score the first goal at the new Spotify Camp Nou as well. So him saying he wants to stay, of course, as someone who loves Ansu and has stocks invested in him, this is music to my ears. All I can say for Ansu is this, for the billionth time: get on that plane. Get on that plane to America. Survive in Barcelona for the next month and a half, where they probably will try to look to move you on. Get on that plane and impress Hansi Flick. My dream is to have Lamine Yamal, Rafinha for the left, for the right wing, Nico, Ansu for the left, Roque and Lewandowski down the middle. I would bin Ferran and Joao Felix. That is my personal opinion. Would the club do things differently? Probably. I think the club would probably have Nico and Ferran down the left, just Joao Felix in there for vibes, Roque and Lewandowski and Rafinha and Yamal. That's how I see it personally. But I really want to see Ansu Fati at Barcelona next season. I think he realized the mistake that he made. Again, similar to Abde, if Ansu Fati stayed, he would have gotten a huge opportunity during that October-November period where we're going through injury crises. We're playing Cancelo on the wing. That would have been his moment, that 3-week spell, and if he played well, he could have taken off, but he decided not to wait, and that is, of course, his own decision. Now, following this interview, the morning after, Tony Juan Martí came out saying that Victor Orta, the Sevilla sporting director, has conveyed to Barcelona in recent days his desire to sign Ansu Fati on loan. There have already been several contacts between the two clubs in the last few hours. There have been new contacts. Sevilla can only pay 25 to 30% of the player's salary. Sevilla is doing everything they can to convince Ansu Fati with the new coach García Pimienta, who knows, values, and appreciates Ansu's talent a lot. Ansu already knows that García Pimienta is crazy to train him at Sevilla. Ansu wants to start preseason as a culé and decide on the fly. If Hansi Flick does not count on him, he will have the time in August to get an exit on track. And for me, that is the perfect plan. Get on that plane to America. If you impress, great, you stay. If not, the Sevilla door is always open. I've always said this as well. If I'm shipping Ansu Fati anywhere this summer, it's Sevilla on loan with García Pimienta. Not only because of the manager, but also it is his city. Keep in mind, Ansu Fati was born and he's from Sevilla. And then, of course, he joined Barcelona when he was 10 years old. So that's his city. He should have went there last summer. I think Brighton was a good move initially, but of course, in hindsight now, didn't turn out too well. But for me, this summer, it is clear. It's either Barcelona's first team or a loan to Sevilla. And again, with a clause that he cannot play against Barcelona, we got to keep the consistency with those loan clauses that Mikayil Faye instilled, that the loan players cannot face Barcelona, or if they do, the other team has to pay a penalty fee. So wait and see what happens with Ansu Fati. I do agree with his initial plan right now. Fly to the preseason. If Hansi Flick counts on him, great. If not, you can even join Sevilla, of course, in the beginning of August. It doesn't really matter per se. I think that is the perfect plan, and we'll wait and see how things do turn out with Ansu Fati's future. Let's now discuss some contract renewal updates around the first team at Barcelona. Just one update, and it's on the first team captain in Sergi Roberto. Now, Bernabeu from Sport has come out saying that Hansi Flick's arrival has changed everything. Good chances now for Sergi Roberto to leave this summer. His continuity isn't a priority for the new coach and would have even less minutes than he would if he does end up staying, which again makes sense. Roberto will be staying purely for vibes, for training, for behind the scenes, and will play if we have an absolute massive injury suspension crisis. I'm at a point now with Roberto. I'm like, again, if he stays, cool. If he doesn't stay, cool. I'm not bothered. I think, you know what, he kind of deserved a little bit of a clap off at the Montjuic for what he's done for Barcelona of 13 years of service. Whether that 13 years was good or bad or not, it's you know, that's up for debate. That's different, but serving the club for 13 years, not many people have done that. I think he deserved at least at least a clap off being substituted, which kind of sucks for him. And again, this kind of goes with the flow of Laporta treating legends bad at Barcelona. Of course, Roberto's not a legend per se. I would say Roberto's more so of an icon. Roberto's kind of like in that Rakitic, David Villa, Neymar, who kind of, you know, marked a little era. Barcelona played well for a certain period, and then got binned off. He ain't a legend, I would say. Like, you know, your Dani Alves, your Piqué, your Puyol, your Jordi Alba, your Busquets, your Xavi, Iniestas, your Dinos, your Suarez, your Messi's, of course. He's not in that category, but I would say just below that. So we'll wait and see how things do turn out. Again, if we keep him cool, if we don't keep him cool, I still think we're going to keep him. I'm still in the... Because, look, the way I see it is that, look, he speaks fluent English. He'll be able to communicate with Hansi Flick easily. And again, he's, you know, the leader of the squad. He knows the city, knows the culture, knows the style of a play. You're going to need him for that transition, of course, from the Montjuic to this spot like Camp Nou for, you know, player direction, you know, leading and all this mumbo jumbo that you don't really hear too much. So if we do keep him, I think it'll be, you know, good asset. He didn't have a dreadful season last season, even though the two worst performances individually were from him. I think overall, like I gave him in the season review video, I gave him a 7 out of 10. I think he came up in big moments. He kind of showed that off the bench he can have somewhat of an impact. So we'll wait and see how things do turn out with Roberto. But apparently, according to the press right now, is looking more so at an exit than he is staying. The next and final contract renewal update is on the contract renewal of the Barca athletic manager in Rafa Marquez. Relivo have come out saying that Rafa Marquez wants to continue at Barcelona, but with one condition. If he achieves promotion, the coach would consider continuing in Barcelona. He considers his stage in the Primera Division as complete. Real Oviedo is following his situation. Rafa has already spoken with Deco about a possible planning of the squad in case of promotion and his also renewal as well. The coach believes that several players need to be incorporated. So Rafa Marquez will only stay if the team achieve promotion. Of course, right now they're 2-1 up in the first leg against Ibiza, I believe in the semifinal of the playoff promotion. So if Barca get promoted to the Segunda, then Rafa Marquez will end up staying, most likely. If not, he will end up leaving. And then again, you have to look at Laporta appointing a new first team coach, new women's coach, I think the basketball coach is getting stacked as well. I think The futsal coach left. It's a bloody circus with these managers. Again, it's another situation, another area where you have to find someone that you trust and believe in that can, elevate the squad. Again, a lot of people were not really happy with the Rafa Marquez appointment initially, and look how that turned out. Everyone's still crying and moaning about García Pimienta being sacked. So, again, it's going to be another thing that the club will have to look out for. Another thing that probably, hindered the priorities for Barcelona in the transfer market as well. So we'll wait and see how things do turn out. But again, Rafa Marquez's future does depend on how well Barça Athletic do during the qualification for the promotion spot. Now, the final topic that I wanted to discuss before I end off this video is to give you guys some injury and fitness updates around the first team at Barcelona. Firstly, a fitness update on Paco Barça and Fermin Lopez, where Barcelona are getting a bit worried about these two players. Diaz Sport has come out saying that Barcelona are very worried about Barça and Fermin Lopez. They believe they will play very little in the Euros and then be put in the squad for the Olympics, and this will disrupt their preseason. Of course, Barcelona start La Liga August 16th. Joan Gamper, which of course is the game before La Liga where you want to present and get everyone hyped up for it. So an iconic tournament for Barcelona, August the 11th. The Olympic ends August 11th, so if Spain make it all the way to the gold medal match, they're going to be there till August 11th. So that means they're going to miss at least the first 3 weeks of the season because they need rest and recuperation, especially being part of the Euros and then being part of the Olympics. So I understand the club's perspective, but hopefully, as long as they play little to nothing at the Euros, I'm not really too bothered by it. At the end of the day, our squad is very well have good depth enough to cover for Fermin Lopez and Paco Barça. Especially with the center backs that we do have and the attacking midfielders that we do have in the squad. But something to keep an eye out for, especially when planning for the squad, and especially when signing players as well. But keep your eyes on how these players are involved in for Spain. Of course, Lamine Yamal and Pedri will probably start week in, week out for Spain, and they probably won't go to the Olympics. But then after that, we'll see. Eric Garcia might go to the Olympics for Spain as well, so keep your eyes on that as well. Some positive news in regards to Alejandro Balde. Mundo Deportivo reporting that Alejandro Balde won't succeed under Hansi Flick. In recent days, he has increased his workout to arrive the preseason in the best shape and convince the coach that he is the left back for him. Of course, Barcelona yesterday published a video of Alejandro Balde working out. Whoop-de freaking do. I want to see it on the pitch. Yeah, it's all cool and he can lift weights and, hype up a training video. Of course, he's had a poor season. Cannot wait to see him back. I still think he's a fantastic and brilliant fullback, but we got to see it now on the pitch. The final news has come as a bit of a shock, you could say, and also something that you could say is a bit worrying, and that is the situation of Frenkie de Jong. Now, according to Catalonia Radio, Barcelona have recommended Frenkie de Jong not to play in the Euros to prevent a serious ankle injury. According to Catalonia Radio, Frenkie de Jong is willing to take a risk to play in the Euros, but Barcelona want him to avoid playing at all costs. You're probably thinking, Barca boy, where the bloody hell has this come from? It all came from, of course, Frenkie de Jong's injury in the Clasico, which of course was his third ankle injury to his right ankle as well during the season. Now, in yesterday's video where I brought you guys those quotes about Frenkie de Jong saying that he's happy in Barcelona, he spoke to Hansi Flick, we'll wait and see after the Euros about his contract renewal. He also mentioned during that interview about his injury, and he said this: I am prepared to take risks in order to play in the Euros, but the most important thing for me is that it does not become a chronic ankle injury. That is not the case yet, and that is why I have not had surgery on my ankle. This is where Barcelona come in, because Barcelona believe that it is a chronic ankle injury, or it could become a chronic ankle injury, and that's why they don't want Frenkie de Jong playing in the Euros. So Frenkie de Jong has made it clear that if it is a chronic ankle injury, he won't play, he won't risk himself, but if it's not, he'll go to the fullest and risk himself to play in the tournament. Again, it's the Euros, so I kind of understand why you have a better chance of winning it in the World Cup. Netherlands group is, they're in the group of death, Netherlands. Keep in mind, they have a group of them, Austria, who are decent, France, I believe Poland as well. So it's a very, very difficult group. And even finishing in third place with, high points is going to be very, very difficult for them. So I can see why he wants to play it. Again, it's an opportunity to win a trophy with your national team, especially with it not being the World Cup. It's a bit of an easier chance. It's, it's a smaller and lesser competition. I understand that, but I just hope he does not risk himself for the future. So hopefully if he keeps his word here, if it is a chronic and serious ankle injury, he will not risk himself, but if it's not, he'll go out there and risk it. I can understand why, of course, from the Barcelona perspective, I completely disagree. We're the one paying his wages and everything like that, but if he does do it, I do understand why he's done it. So keep your eyes on his ankle injury. We'll wait and see if he is fit for the Euros. Right now, the Barcelona have not given him the medical green light. Neither have the Dutch national team doctors as well, but this is a situation that you really have to keep your eyes on for in the next few weeks. So that was my reaction to the Barcelona news over the past 24 hours. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and of course leave me your thoughts down below in the comments on everything we discussed. The main thing I want to first say, of course, is your thoughts on the two main targets and Nico Williams and Kimmich. What are your thoughts on those two players? Would you go for them or not? Your thoughts on, the prices as well for the two players. Second, your thoughts on Guido Rodriguez. Would you go and sign him on a free transfer? Just bet on Casado and players in-house. Third, your thoughts on the situation of Mikayil Faye. What would you do? Would you catch up on him now? Trust him in the first team next season? And finally, your thoughts on the future of Ansu Fati. Are you on the same hype train as I am? Or are you more of a realist thinking that, he's not up to scratch anymore and might as well just bet on, your Joao Felix, your Ferrans, and maybe your Nico Williams if you do end up signing him? Or would you give Ansu Fati at least preseason? And of course, make sure you guys subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time on the channel. Take care and Forza Barça.
Yeah.